talk about this particular issue. You can imagine what the scene inside there looks like. So they said they're asking people for patience, that it is a tedious and gruesome scene that they are having to go through. So there could be an element of that is delaying this. They're doing their forensic work in there. And really, we've also talked to a number of local officials who are kind of just upset about the way all of this is being talked about. We spoke with a man by the name of Paul Garcia, who is a local law enforcement officer, and he also served on a school board, a local politician, and he was getting very frustrated with the way some politicians are talking about this. He said anyone who is not calling this what it is doing this entire crime. They're calling it what specifically? He wants to be called domestic terrorism. This is an act of white supremacy. We've got a little bit of table. I'll let him kind of fill in the blank there.
You know that raw chocolate was a kind of a chocolate bean, yeah.
Including the mayor of El Paso.
What? Chocolate plums.
Yes.
And they take those middle beans.
Cocoa beans,
we have got to stop the political talk. We got to let the community know exactly what's going on. This was a hate crime by a white supremacist that targeted our people, nuestra gente, here in El Paso, because we are Hispanic. And when our leaders, the mayor of El Paso, does not come out and say that, people lose faith. I firmly believe that our leaders set the tone for any kind of organization, any city, and for our leader, DeMarco, to say something like that is not only irresponsible, it's disgraceful.
So I think that's one of the elements a lot of these people are dealing with. You know, they live across the border from one of the most violent cities in the world, but this is a community that has always prided itself on being one of the safest places in America. So being confronted with this kind of violence is really jarring for many people.
Question. And talking about the connection to the words from the top, I spoke to the state senator, Jose Rodriguez, who represents this area, and he said the same thing, that the words coming from Washington, specifically from the president, help feed, in his view, this kind of anti-immigrant behavior, anti-immigrant animus and behavior. Ed Lavandera, good to have you. Good to have you here. We have a live press conference now with authorities in Dayton, Ohio, the scene of yet another mass shooting just in the last 24 hours. Let's listen in.
At 2 o'clock, I was very appreciative that Senators Brown, Senators Portman, and Congressman Turner, as well as U.S. Attorney Ben Glassman, the FBI and ATF, came together for a briefing with Chief Beale and Chief Carper. We then walked to the scene of the site in the Oregon District, so the senators and congressmen could get a good sense of exactly what happened on the ground. And I want to say how much I appreciate their support and their calls and what can I do questions during this day. It's meant a lot to me personally, and I know it's meant a lot to the citizens of Dayton. With that, I'd like to invite Senator Sherrod Brown to come forward and say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. This is obviously a terribly difficult time for this community, and I so appreciate especially police and fire and the rescue operations, how quickly the police department, police officers on the scene so courageously stood up and did the right thing and saved literally potentially hundreds of lives with the amount of ammunition the shooter had, and how quickly they responded, and how what a short period of time from the first shot to the last shot. So it really does tell me a lot about local public servants, police and fire and rescue operations we had. The mayor tells us 20, I believe 20 first responders from the region came, in addition to the 6 or 7 from the city of Dayton, that arrived all within 20 minutes to save lives. So that's what local communities do, which come together like this. The mayor took us all to walk through the Oregon District. It's in many ways the center of Dayton in terms of evenings and small businesses. Every single business in that area just about is locally owned, and with the vibrancy of local ownership and what that means. And they're all coming together, as they will tonight, the vigil, but for the next many days, the way that Dayton came together after the tornado and in dealing with the KKK rally a few weeks ago. My first talk with the mayor today, the first thing she told me, other than expressing the grief and the heartache of this community was how she had gotten literally dozens of texts, emails, and phone calls from mayors around the country, almost all of whom have had something like this happen in their communities. And so our first response, I'll speak for myself, Connie's my first response, of course, is sadness and hearts and prayer.